Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to this NXT review and opinions video. So we've had about 26 responses. We can get through all of those. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible because NXT, you know, it's a go-home show. There wasn't really loads on here that was OMG or anything. I mean, I don't even think we had anything that was really OMG. We did get a really good backstage brawl though. But I'm going to say this is like a 6, 7, 5, maybe a 7. I'm kind of around that ballpark. And actually, during our watch-along, it was discussed about maybe just tweaking the way we do these videos, or at least my part, where rather than just going, here's all my thoughts, maybe put them into positives and negatives. So we'll start with the positives, move on to the negatives, just because I've written it that way. Positives, the women's vignettes. I thought they were excellent. I'd like to see more of that on the main roster, actually. So all 4 women in the NXT Championship match, Women's Championship match, they all got a little video giving their backstory. And each one, all 4 were excellent. So really enjoyed those. The backstage brawl, I thought was really fun. There was a bit where Saquon had a trash can lid and he kind of smacked someone with it and then frisbeed it. And it was like something out of Streets of Rage. It was kind of like something out of a side-scrolling beat-em-up, bursting through walls and stuff like that. Again, you know, this is the kind of thing we could have done with on the main roster. Like on some of those weeks where Raw, SmackDown was just okay. So, that was great. And then Hank and Tank. Got to give them their flowers. What a hell of a performance to run the whole gauntlet. And they looked so good doing it as well. Like, not everything was like crisp and great, but it didn't matter because the effort was just so undeniable. The amount of work that they were doing was so undeniable. Really impressive stuff. Really impressive stuff. So Hank and Tank running the whole gauntlet, get in their match at Stand and Deliver. MVP performances, I would say, on this show. But let's get to the negatives because I'm going to start with the gauntlet. I actually wouldn't have had Hank and Tank win. I think Hank and Tank really have kind of won people over with the amount of work they put into their matches. They've had some really good performances. And then they go and have another great performance, run the whole gauntlet, qualify for Stand and Deliver. The only downside is we sacrifice quite a lot of good teams to achieve that. Like, I really like No Quarter Catch Crew. I really like Tavion Heights. I think he's a good talent. Miles Bourne as well. Good talent. Like, it was a shame to see them kind of fresh and not being able to get past Hank and Tank, a team that we've seen losing a lot recently. Granted, you know, they've got some new advice and this was their time, and I understand the story, but I think I would have had them just fall short. I think I would have had them like get to that final match in the gauntlet only to just fall short. And, you know, everyone would have kind of felt bad for them. They did all that work. They've got nothing to show for it. You could do quite an emotional backstage interview. Whoever wins the tag title match at Stand and Deliver, you know, they could end up facing Hank and Tank. Hank and Tank, of course, would get their opportunity. They would earn their opportunity. But, I kind of feel like them just falling short after all that work in the long run, I think could have really helped. But who knows? Maybe they go to Stand and Deliver and win the titles. Maybe they go to Stand and Deliver and put on like a really great match. But I do look at like Tyson and Tyreek and the culling. I mean, we're really trying to build the culling up. So for the culling to fall short as well, I think the way I probably would have booked it is I would have had the culling win and go to Stand and Deliver to face Fraxium. And then I would have given Hank and Tank a title opportunity. I would have found a way to have got them to the title in a few weeks' time and actually just continued building them. But that's just like a booking thing, really. It's not a massive down. Just felt bad for some of the teams that we had to sacrifice. But gauntlets are always that way, aren't they? The other down, and this isn't a big down either, really, is the Fatal 4-Way. Big match, important match. I thought it was all right. It didn't blow my mind. It was all right. I kind of feel like we knew Ethan was going to win. He should have won. He did win. He's going to face Ricky Saints. I'm sure that's going to be a great match. I didn't really feel like Eddy Thorpe or Lexis King like really shone or really did a great deal. I don't know. I mean, it was just a bit of a all right start to the show, really. So, yeah, maybe we could have had something a little bit stronger. But it's one of those, isn't it? It's a go-home show. We had to do this match because it had been announced last week, and we need to figure out who's going to face Ricky Saints. So we had to do it. But you lot scored it good 99%. I probably would have been a bit lower than that. But as we said, not a massive down, if you will. Probably the bigger down was the closing segment. I really found Javon's promo to be quite rambling and to not have like much substance to it. There was not really much in the way of like killer lines or anything that's like, oh, he's cooking him. It was just him talking about Oba, and it just didn't really go anywhere. So the delivery as well just wasn't quite there. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done there with Javon. We know how amazing he is in the ring, but maybe like those live promos are kind of what we need to work on. And I think just to add a little bit of extra disappointment, what I personally found is once Trick and Oba got Javon out the ring, they started throwing shots and they looked really poor. I thought they looked really poor. So from Javon's promo, I was a bit like, oh, I needed that to be a bit better, or I was hoping that would be a bit better. And then we go to like this awful looking brawl between Trick and Oba. And obviously Javon hits a pretty sick move, stands tall at the end. But yeah, I don't know, just kind of, there was just moments where I was like, oh, I could have done with a bit more out of that. Just like the Fatal 4-Way could have done with a bit more out of that. I suppose in a way I felt that way about Lola and Tatum. Could have done with a bit more out of that. So I think it was solid. I think it was good. I don't think it was great. And it's just kind of put the finishing touches to Stand and Deliver. So that's how I feel about this week's NXT, broken down into positives and negatives. But as I said, the negatives, they weren't that negative. But I think it shakes out as about a 6-7-5-7. Okay, so let's work our way through. So Lisa said, Daze, it was okay. Nothing really to write home about. The highlight for me was seeing Ricky Saints. I'm going to give the show a 5.8, but the stream was a solid 10. Well, Lisa, thank you. I really appreciate that. John Elite said, family splits at Stand and Deliver. Glad to see Thea and Tatum back. Yeah, good to see Thea back. What a botch with Stevie Turner's name graphic. Happy for Hank and Tank tonight. Hank and Tank new champs? Maybe. I think they've got a chance. A good chance. Awesome video packages for the 4 women. Can't wait for Stand and Deliver. Glamrock said, good show. 7. Glad that Thea Hale is back and ready to be a champion. Thanks for the shout out, and I'll see you on the SmackDown stream. Yeet. Homer said, what does people want to see? Do they want to see an invasion or worlds collide? Why not both? I don't know. I don't know what about invasion. Worlds collide, but who would you do that with? TNA and NXT. Yeah. Will there be a match where the winner takes all the titles? Well, there's no announcement for that show or anything, but I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think that they would be looking to unify the TNA and the NXT titles, or put those 2 belts onto the same person. So I wouldn't think so. But as we said, no show's been announced anyway. Larry said, Days NXT was fire. The Thea Hale return. Hank and Tank winning. Street brawl. Through a wall. Oba and Trick and Bouncy face off. All was fire. So Larry gives it 9 out of 10. Alfie said, I thought NXT was great. The Stephanie, Julia, Jada, Jordan video packages were amazing. Matches entertaining, and the brawl from the parking lot was a fun segment. All the matches were entertaining. Trick Oba Javon promo was good, says Alfie. Matthew said, great show and a good go-home show for Stand and Deliver. And it's great to see Thea Hale back in the ring. No surprise, Cora Jade is tagging with Roxanne and Stack's turning again. Great show, 8. See you at NXT, Stand and Deliver. Matthew, shout out to you, buds. Ryder said, overall, it was a fun show that continued the building blocks for Stand and Deliver. Matches weren't blown away, but they were good. Video packages, parking lot brawl, Thea Hale return, and the main event segment were my highlights. So that's what Ryder enjoyed. Dean said, I thought NXT was really good tonight. Loved the Fatal 4-Way that kicked off the show. And I really enjoyed the tag team Gauntlet. I think Hank and Tank are winning at Stand and Deliver. Honk honk. See you tomorrow for Evolve, Dean. Shout out to you. Honk honk to you as well, Dean. Salami said, I don't get to watch until tomorrow. I've only got the app. Well, it's a solid show, honestly. Wrestling fans since day one said, Daze, there's going to be a heel turn in the D'Angelo family. I'm thinking Stax is going to turn on them. I'm also thinking all of them are going to turn on Tony. Wow. Now, that would be the swerve, wouldn't it? What if they all unite behind Stax and kick Tony out? Because I agree it feels like Stax and Tony are going to come to blows, but I don't know. Is there going to be a swerve? Is there going to be a swerve there? It's probably time for Stax to go off on his own, isn't it? NXT 6 out of 10. Last thing, Javon Evans' promo was a down for me this week. Good night, my friends. Wrestling fans since day one, shout out to you. There's Brendan and his friend. So, Brendan, shout out to you. Sub Ho Deep said, I enjoyed NXT's Go Home show. Daze, do you think there'll be any surprises at Stand and Deliver? That's a really good question because I hadn't actually thought about surprises. Apparently Hikuleo is coming in about a month or so, so I'm not sure we'll get anything there. Lance Hawaii, last I heard, don't know that things were going that well for him. I'm not aware of anyone else that signed outside of, say, Jeff Cobb. Maybe Jeff Cobb. But I'm really not aware of anyone else, so... I mean, I suppose we've got, like, Evolve talent. Maybe they'll be there. But they're not big names, are they, really? Is there anyone that's out injured that could come back? I can't really think of anyone injured either, so... Don't know, yeah, I can't say I'm expecting any surprises in regards to new superstars. But they've always got people that we've not seen. You know, and there's always people at the PC that they're waiting to debut, just like they've done with Dark State. And actually, a Dark State, yeah, they are. I was going to say a Dark State on the card. They are because they got added, didn't they? Family against Dark State was added this week, so... don't know, we'll have to wait and see. It's a good question. Carl said it was a real mixed bag, but it was probably better than Raw. Loved Stephanie's vid in Chile. Brawl was fire. Burying the tag division for Hank and Tank is awful. The Ren QCC should have won. Yeah. Thea's back, but that Karmen screw job was horrible. She deserves much better. Rocks on the pre-show. To be honest, I think Rocks on the pre-show is just because they probably had plans for her. And I wonder if those plans changed because they definitely were teasing Roxanne Bailey. And I definitely think there's a chance we were going to get that. I mean, last I heard, we were going to do Alexa and Nikki in the tag match. So if we were going to do Alexa and Nikki against Liv and Raquel, that means that Bailey was free to do something else. And I wonder if she was meant to face Roxanne somewhere. But something happened, plans changed, and now Bailey finds herself going up against Liv and Raquel with Lyra. And so that now means that Roxanne doesn't have a match. And so we've just had to find one. I mean, she is really in that as a last thought, isn't she? She is really in there as kind of a stopgap. Like that, I really don't think was what they had planned for her. Taker 1990 said NXT was an 8. You are right about the video packages of Jada, Julia, Jordan, Stephanie. They were great. I'm going to be in the live chat for Evolve. My journey to Vegas starts tomorrow night around 1 a.m. I'll see you for NXT next week, and I will be sending pictures. Well, Taker 1990. Have a great time, my friend. Parker Tiffy Time said, Daze, I thought NXT was really good tonight. I love the fact that Ethan won, but I don't think he wins at Stand and Deliver. No, same. Ricky Saints has only really just got that belt. I believe it'll be his last NXT match, and he'll be at Raw after Mania. That's interesting. I'm giving NXT an 8 out of 10. Thea is winning the ladder match and I've been loving all the video thoughts. Tiffy Parker, Tiffy Time, shout out to you, my friend. Chris said, Daze, fun watch. Hello, Chris. I don't want to be a negative Nancy. I'm trying to battle that as well. Much better than Raw. I agree. 7. Oh my God, you and me, same ballpark. I'm going to go on a limb and say that Stand and Deliver will be better than night 1. One of the nights of WrestleMania. So I am looking forward to Mania now. The build is over. Good night. Have a good one. Same to you, Chris. Same to you, buds. Muggsy said 7 out of 10. Last few shows have been mid, but Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania should both be bangers. The stream gets 100 as always. Muggsy, shout out to you, my friend. I always find these streams quite difficult because, to be honest with you, they're go-home shows. So they're really just putting final pieces. You're not really getting the OMG moments, but that brawl was good. And Hank and Tank, brought some excitement. So, yeah, I think these OMG moments we're waiting for, they're all going to be this weekend. So if it does feel a little bit like the calm before the storm, that's because I think that's exactly what we've got at the moment. What's going on here? Johnny said, what an absolute shit show. I'm cancelling my Netflix subscription. Do you know what? And I'm unsubscribing from Wrestling Daze YouTube channel also. That's how bad and traumatic it was. But overall, 675. And I'm excited for Stand and Deliver. See you tomorrow for Evolve Days. See you tomorrow, buds. The Hoovian Master said, I'm going to score the NXT Go Home show for Stand and Deliver an 8.5. Blue Will Smith said, overall, this week's NXT show is a rank C. Fraxium is where it's at. Said, great video packages for the ladies. Good tag Gauntlet. I'm glad that Thea Hale is back. I don't know why the women's tag was put on the pre-show, but whatever. The main event segment was great. For a go-home show, NXT gets 8.5, says Fraxium is where it's at. Mitchell said, those women's promos were something special. The street brawl was really fun. I started high and my score dipped towards the end. Seeing Thea was great. I finished about a 7.25. It's about how you leave them. And I thought the main event match and promo segment was, in my opinion. I agree. I found it to be a bit underwhelming. Bradley says, or Bradley? Brady. I do know your name. Tatum Paxley versus Lola Vice was fantastic. I'm glad that Tatum is wrestling on Stand and Deliver, but sad that it's on the countdown. Fun fact, Thea's theme is the same one that Eddie Edwards used in TNA years ago. Oh, Bradley, thank you. Wrestle Knights says, amazing video packages for Jordan, Julia, Jada, and Stephanie. I'm glad that Ethan Page won, and I'm really enjoying his work. Not a fan of Lola. I wanted Tatum to win, so that was a bummer. Tag Gauntlet was incredible, but I think I could have done more for Hank and Tank. I think it would have done more for Hank Tank in the run if they fell short. I agree. 2 teams ran a gauntlet last week. You do get this with the gauntlet. It doesn't always go that way, but if the team you think is favorite to win come out at number 1, that probably means they're winning. The parking lot brawl was amazing. People need raises. Roxanne and Cora reuniting is confusing. It's a bit confusing. End segment was weird. I felt like they just did a rinse and repeat of the Io Rhea Bianca segment. Javon has been getting dismissed by both and bullied. Then Javon stands tall, just like Io. I thought it was pretty good though, so 775, and I'll see you for Evolve. Wrestle Night, see you later, buds. I need to set that stream up actually. Raymond said, Daze, so I thought NXT tonight was good. It was way better than Raw on Monday. Way more entertaining. Matches were fantastic. I was glued to my seat for every match. So I'm going to rate it 10 out of 10. Shout out to you and see you Friday. Shout out to you, buds. I am pleased to hear that people really did enjoy this show, which is excellent. So what I want to do is I want to go here and look at the score. So, I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. SmackDown getting good 93. Raw getting good 95. So we're just coming off the back of 2 shows that scored overwhelmingly good, right, from the community. And look at that. So NXT tonight getting great 79. So this kind of feels a little bit like an exhale. This kind of feels like, oh, thank God, yes, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're after. We didn't find it on Raw. We didn't find it on SmackDown. We did find it last week on NXT again. But thankfully, NXT coming through for us once again. So, yeah, very good. I agree. It was very good, very solid episodes. And on we go. So there we go. Thanks a lot for joining me. Appreciate all the feedback. We'll be back later with Unseen and members stuff. And of course, we'll be live for Evolve. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.